Hello everyone. Homeschool tips. Should I reteach a class if the kids haven't got it yet, and how? So that's a really good question, both if you're a homeschooler or if you're a classroom teacher too. Should I reteach something? This is what I've seen happen. The teacher thinks, oh, they don't have it yet, and then they teach it again using the same method. But what's the definition of insanity, right? Is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, right? It's no different with teaching. If a child isn't getting it, I always think, what am I doing wrong? Because it's about the teacher, not the student. I know, tough to hear, right? I'm Norma Jean. I'm the founder of Time to Shine Teaching and Coaching. I have been in education for over 20 years now. My emphasis, my training, my specialty is reading, spelling, and printing. And I have a lot of successes under my belt. I'm really happy about that because it lights me up when I see a kid getting it. And so I have sort of shifted my focus to, I still support and work with children, but what I really want is to reach all those adults out there that are working with children, because we can do this better. So reteaching, if you're just going to do the same thing over and over, I don't really think that's the best approach. Something else that you might want to consider is that teaching should be thought of like building blocks, right? Like if you're building a house, you need a foundation to build a house. And then you need the walls before you put the roof on, right? So maybe the child is missing some of those foundational skills that they need in order to grasp the new concept, right? I always think back a long time ago when I first started teaching. The classroom I was in, they were teaching long division. And so I would have this huge group of kids around my table all the time looking for help because those children hadn't mastered multiplication yet. And if you don't have multiplication, then you don't stand a chance at doing division, really, right? Like you have to know and understand multiplication because they go hand in hand. And so it just didn't make any sense to them. And I think often teachers are so focused on the finish line, like getting to that next unit, moving on, that they forget about this one key thing that, most of what kids are learning depends on what they've already learned. And if they don't have it down here, they're not going to be successful up there, right? And that is one of the nice things about homeschooling or the learning pods and stuff, is that you can set your own schedule, right? And you can enjoy the journey without worrying about the finish line. So another thing about reteaching is that kids are smart, so they're going to be in resistance because they're going to feel like they're being forced to do something that they've already done, right? They might even feel that you think they're dumb or like they're letting you down. And if they aren't really getting it the way you're teaching, they might also be bored. So I don't reteach. What I do, and it doesn't matter whether I think the child has it or not, but particularly if I think that they need more practice, is I review. Because when it comes to teaching reading, spelling, and printing, but you can't apply this to anything, you have to realize that they are learning a new language, right? It's a new skill. And it's like anything that we learn. If we don't use it or review it or practice it, we lose it. So repetition and review is so important. I always say to kids, like, if you wanted to play guitar, do you think you could just pick it up and play it? Like, no, we have to learn, then we have to practice, then we have to review, and we have to keep practicing. We can't say, oh, I've got this, the C chord now, I never have to play it again. No, we have to keep playing it. And that's true with any of the spelling or reading tools that we give the kids. We actually have to give them the opportunity to practice it. But it doesn't have to be, boring and mundane repetition. As a matter of fact, I always say that my superpower is tricking kids into learning because they don't even realize that they're learning half the time. We're having so much fun, right? So I like to do activities and play games that are fun and engaging, and it doesn't have to be complicated or time consuming, right? It can be really simple. And for instance, I took a board game that I just printed off the internet. It was like a pond with lily pads. The kids moved around the lily pads. And then all I did was glue pictures of little frogs on some of the lily pads and little flies on some of the lily pads. And then if the child landed on the frog, they had to hop like a frog. If they landed on one of the flies. They had to pretend they were eating the fly, like that kind of thing, right? And so all we did was we practiced the skill. Okay, I need you to do 5 of whatever. Practice this, 5 turns, and then you get a turn on the game. I'll do 5 turns, you can help me with it, then I'll get a turn. And so that was all it took, was to really get this child engaged, was to give them the opportunity to make it fun. And, you know, the dollar store, truly our friend. And especially if you know what the child's interests are, then you just buy a game. And here's one here. I have literally had this game for 15 years. And it's these little frogs. And they hop, right? You just push on them, bing, they hop. And they're trying to hop into this this little pond, and each one of these has got points, right? So we can make it competitive and stuff. I've used this, as you can tell, it's quite beat up. I've used it over and over and over again. But all I'm doing is whatever skill it is I'm teaching, and it could be math, could be adding, could be multiplying, it could be spelling rules, it could be whatever. They have to do the work, five questions maybe, and then they get a turn. Then I'll do some work and I'll get a turn. And that's really all it takes to do that. So I talk a lot more about this in my upcoming free webinars. I have one scheduled for next Tuesday, January 17th at noon Pacific Standard Time. If evenings are better for you, I have another one scheduled the following week for Thursday the 26th at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And it's free, about an hour long, lots of time to ask me questions at the end, and I cover some really important pillars for planning for your child's educational success. And teaching in a way that's going to reach all learners, regardless of what their learning styles, and ways to keep it playful and engaging, even for the most reluctant learners. So I just did one on Tuesday this week. I got lots of really positive feedback on it, lots of helpful things the participants learned, and they want to learn more. So you can expect I'll be doing more of these in the future. But if you're interested in joining me for my free webinar, just shoot me a message and give me your email address, and then I will send you all the information for it, okay? So that's what I have for you today, everybody. I hope that we're heading into a really wonderful weekend for everyone, and I'll see you soon. Happy teaching.